Hello and welcome to BrookesTV. I'm Emma Kaniba.
And I'm Dan Clark.
Within Oxford, stakeholders are investing large sums of money to transform the city centre in order to compete with the surrounding areas. Latoya Gale went to investigate.
2 rivalling shopping centres in one small city. Across major cities and towns within England, major redevelopments have been taking place in the hopes of modernising and bringing in new business. The Clarendon shopping centre in Oxford has just completed its £6 million redevelopment, which began 2012, introducing a new 3-storey H&M store, which employs around 30 full-time and part-time staff. The development replaced an existing smaller Currys store in a bid to compete with Oxford's rival shopping centre, Westgate. Westgate is set to start its redevelopment this year, completing in 2017 with over 70 new stores. Redevelopment has been postponed since 1988 with protests surrounding the effect on the environment, cultural heritage and transport amongst other concerns. This contrasts with statements from the local Oxford City Council, who believe the redevelopment is long overdue in order to improve the local economy and will boost local jobs.
What the Westgate development will offer is a very high quality set of retail outlets of different types, together with a leisure facility with lots of restaurants and with some very nice public squares.
We put together 45 sustainability targets which have a wide range from renewables to recycling, the materials that we're demolishing.
We emphasise public consultation precisely because it is such an important part of the city. I mean, we are building effectively a new development that's the size of the existing city centre. It's doubling the size.
We spoke to the local community within Oxford to find out their opinion.
I think it's looking a little bit sort of tired and worn.
It is not necessary, but it would be useful for customer.
Within Oxford, it's unclear how the redevelopments will affect current stores, as disruptions throughout construction is likely, and depending on the products, the new store stock competition is likely to increase. Traditional stores, such as those in Oxford's Covered Market, see the redevelopment as opportunity for business to boost and believe the shopping centre redevelopments will not be direct competition to them.
It's our aim only to enhance the cultural offer in Oxford. It's very important for us that now everyone can internet shop from home, that Oxford is seen as a whole day out. So it's not just coming to us and going shopping, it's about people exploring further than the Westgate and going to see all those fabulous attractions that are in Oxford already.
Latoya Gale for BrookesTV News.
Oxford Brookes was founded in 1865, which means this year marks the 150th anniversary of the university. Our reporter Lizzie Clarkson investigates what is being done for the 150th celebrations.
It has been in the news a lot recently, with the opening of the new Abercrombie and John Henry Brookes buildings. This year, Oxford Brookes are also celebrating 150 years as an institution. They have launched a full campaign to promote the heritage and future of Brookes. As a result of this campaign, Oxford Brookes have been offering free lectures to the public in celebration. We went down to one of the events to see what it was about.
I'm going to be talking about understanding movement difficulties in children. And before I move on to that, I want to just start by talking about movement skill in general, because movement's so much part of our everyday life.
Despite the event being packed with public members, it seems the number of students was low. We asked students on whether they had attended any lectures and their opinion on the anniversary lecture series.
I've not really heard a lot of different things about the anniversary, but I know it's happening.
The students could have actually had some input as to what to do with the 150th anniversary.
I have been to a 150 lecture. I went a couple of months ago to one about cybersecurity.
We also spoke to the manager in charge of the anniversary about events and the student engagement.
We know from the stats from the Ashmolean event that we had a significant number of students there attending. We actually surveyed people down in the forum in a couple of weeks after the Ashmolean event, and so we know that we had a lot of student engagement in that. In terms of other student engagement, we know from the social media activity we get a really good idea of how students are engaging online. But we have a huge student body who interact with us in lots of different ways, and of the 18,000-ish students we have, there won't be any one way to reach them. So we're always trying hard to kind of make sure that we reach out to people.
While students seem to be engaging with the lecture series to a certain extent, the opinion is that Brookes should have done something bigger for such a big celebration. This is Lizzie Clarkson, BrookesTV.
Yet another renovation is planned for the city centre. It's around the Oxford rail station and frideswide square. The overnight work started on Monday. Other traffic restrictions will start from next Friday. Vincy Lung went to investigate.
Oxfordshire County Council has confirmed that the overhaul of Frideswide Square will begin overnight works on 16th of February, and the others with traffic restriction will begin from 27th of February. Starting overnight from 16th, engineers will begin the process of removing traffic islands and placing traffic signals into concrete-filled barrels. The full traffic management system will be in place throughout the first phase of worksheet will be implemented overnight on 27th to 28th of February. Also, fencing will be grown up around the northern half of the square and will be started from 2nd of March. County Council Cabinet Member for Transport David Nemo-Smith said, Frideswide Square is one of the key bottlenecks preventing reliable journey times for people commuting into Oxford from outside the city. By removing traffic lights and using roundabouts, traffic will be able to flow more freely than at the moment.
If it'll make things safer in the area, it's probably a good idea.
As cycling is one of the main transport in Oxford, the campaign group Cyclops, the Voice of Cycling in Oxford, has another point of view towards the renovation. It stated this scheme is intended to improve travel from and to the west for those using buses, their feet and bicycles. This scheme worsens condition for cyclists from the current unsatisfactory position to one which is dangerous and inconvenient.
Right now there's a lot of intermixing roads with not clear signage, so the cyclists don't know where to go, cars don't know where to go, and then those two factors combined make it that much worse.
It's not too dangerous at the moment, it's okay, but I guess if it's done well, if it has good cycle lanes sort of marked out on the roundabout.
Also with respect to the removal of traffic lights to roundabouts, Dan Larvey of Cyclops said, the roundabouts are not suitable for cyclists. There is a very real chance for cyclists being squashed under the long vehicles.
Yeah, I probably could see that being a problem. I think there are quite often the flow of people coming to the station from either down here or also down there, and if there are no traffic lights for them, then that could cause a problem, I suppose.
From the response of Cyclops and a resident in Oxford, it shows the benefits of overhaul of Frideswide Square are controversial, but this is for sure that it will help improve the public space and the development of City of Oxford. This is Vincy Lang reporting from BrookesTV News.
Now time for another redevelopment story within the Oxfordshire area. The City Council has finally agreed to the refurbishment of Cozumel boatyard in Jericho. Dominic Sanchez reports.
On the 10th of February, the Oxford City Council approved planning permission to redevelop the Jericho Castle Mill boatyard. One of the main issues raised between developers and the local community was that less than 50% of the houses to be built by the Strategic Iconic Assets Heritage Acquisition Fund were not deemed as affordable. The scheme will convert the derelict site into a piazza square between St Barnabas Church and the Oxford Canal, bordered by a community centre and a boatyard. It will include a nursery, new retail shops, a restaurant, a new boatyard with 2 dry docks and a wet dock, as well as a swing bridge. The cost of this will amount to an estimated £20 million. The approval for the redevelopment came with 45 provisional conditions. Some of these include that ownership of the community centre and Piazza Square would eventually be passed to Residents Group Jericho Wharf Trust. A chandlery is to be built over the top of the boatyard's manager's workshop. The new boatyard will be built up to roof level. So what do the locals think about this approval?
It should make the canal side much more attractive. It's a bit of an eyesore at the moment.
Because a friend of mine who is a town planner in Reading, he is looking to move into Oxford with his partner, and at the moment, because of their age, they are finding it very difficult to find a place in Oxford that is affordable.
If there's already a community there, and if they're in need, or there's a need to refresh the area, start with the people. You don't need to start with business, start with the people.
Phyllis Starkey from the Jericho Wharf Trust said, "This is a positive move, but it still remains a very complicated development to deliver." In a recent statement by John Sanderson of the Strategic Iconic Assets Heritage Acquisition Fund, responded to the approval by saying, "We are delighted by the support for the Council. 45 conditions is a lot, but we are confident that we can meet these and be on the site over the next few months." Within a month, the Oxford City Council has overlooked 2 concerns by the local community, one of which include the reduction of the heights of Oxford University's Castle Mill halls. This poses a question. Who does the Oxford City Council answer to? The private organisations or the local community?
A group of students in the Oxford Brookes University have set up an interactive adventure around the city. It's for tourists and residents to explore, whilst also raising awareness of the local issues.
An interactive trail that guides you through the beautiful places in the city and raising money for local charities at the same time. This is the Oxford collaborative project Conscious. Conscious is a digital treasure hunt event set up around the city of Oxford by students from the Oxford Brookes University. Starting from the Museum of Modern Art Cafe, a clue for the next destination will be shown on the website after scanning the QR code presented on the venue. The project is aiming to create an interactive experience which will benefit local charities such as Oxford Homeless Pathways and Oxfam, and raise awareness of issues in the community, while raising money for local causes. When the trail ends at the holding of the new Northway Community Centre, people will find themselves in front of a wooden sculpture of a homeless man. Harriet Walby, a first-year architecture student from the project, said that the homeless man sculpture was chosen to inform visitors of the local issue in the area. In November 2014, 26 rough sleepers were counted by the City Council. It is believed that the project can bring attention to such issues. The interactive trail has gone live from February 13 for tourists and residents to explore. For more information, visit www.theoxfordcollaborative.com. This is Jeffrey G reporting from BrookesTV News.
That's it for this half, and see you after the break.
Welcome back. With the Brookes Student Union elections coming up, questions are being asked.
Last week we spoke to Andy Pedersen, the current president of the Brookes Union, about the state of the union and what is being done to improve it.
So this year we've made a number of changes. We've invested quite heavily in improving our capacity. We brought in a campaigns manager, which has meant that we've been able to run much more structured campaigns around voter registration, around mental health and also around housing. It's also meant we've been able to get out to satellite campuses such as Wheatley, Harcourt, even out to Swindon and Marston Road a lot more and engage students on a wider range of issues. We've also massively increased our capacity around events by having an event supervisor who's come in, and that's increased the range of events that we've been able to hold.
Oh, lovely. And have you seen more student engagement in the student union and societies this year?
Certainly in terms of societies, we obviously moving across from Helen Kennedy into the new building has meant that we've had a complete restructure in terms of the space we have available to us. So our spaces are booked out pretty much all the time by societies. There is very little free time. And in terms of the engagement we've had with events, we've gone from having at the start of the year what we call the Sunday Showcase, which is a cinema event. We went from having around 20 people attending at the start of the year, and we're now having around 100, 110. So throughout the year, we're seeing a massive increase in the students engaging with us.
That sounds great. Are you running for the next academic year for the elections?
I will be standing for president next year. I can't really go into any policies because obviously I'm working and a bit unfair on other candidates like in the campaign now. But yes, I can confirm I will stand.
That's great, Andy. And what do you think the current issues with student life are at the moment?
Around student life, there are a number of issues. I think certainly the way satellite campuses are used by the university in terms of I don't think they're viewed in quite the same way. So students on Harcourt and Wheatley can sometimes be forgotten, and that's certainly obvious when it comes to things like transport. When you look at the roadworks that are going on in Oxford at the moment and the transport issues, buses being late, that sort of thing, and the university not having things like lecture capture, so you can't, if you miss a lecture, you can't just go online and see what you've missed, and that's a real problem.
And do you think the new building has helped the image of the student union?
Yes, certainly. It's been a real challenge for us. We've gone from being in a space which was very clearly ours, and the challenge being around getting students into the space, to being in a space where the students are there all the time, but actually being able to brand that space up as ours and make people know that they're in a student space has been the real challenge. But having students there, we've got used to that, and I think it's really benefited us this year.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. And now that the student bar has finally been opened, do you think it's been successful?
Well, it's full most nights. We've obviously got the pool table in there. Prices are certainly competitive for Oxford, and we can't do the £1 pint nights, which I know a lot of students would like. But yeah, I think students have really enjoyed having that space, and it's being used primarily by students, which is obviously what it was supposed to be done for.
Lovely. Thank you very much. And do you think the current lineup of events is a good investment of the money?
Well, we have a wide range of events, and we're very careful with our budgets at the start of the year. We set aside so much money for events, and it's about trying to provide a range of events that wouldn't necessarily normally be there for students. So we run comedy nights. We invest quite a lot of money in our comedy nights, but it's something that would be quite expensive for a student to go and see elsewhere. So it is a balancing act in terms of events and value for money, but we try very hard to put on stuff that students won't get elsewhere.
Lovely, thank you. And how do you manage your budget in the year?
So there'll be different budget holders. So we'll have a campaigns budget, we'll have an events budget, we'll have a comms budget, and obviously each budget will have its own holder. Obviously, usually a manager for that area who will manage the budget within that department, and that will obviously include wages and all that sort of thing. So it's very much the case of at the start of the year being very clear about what we've got to spend and where we want to prioritise that money.
Oh, that's absolutely lovely. Thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Traffic is a long-standing problem for Oxford's residents, and an increasing population has seen a rise in the number of vehicles on the city's roads.
Latoya Gale investigates what is being done to combat the effect this has on the environment.
The low emission zone, which began in January 2014, was an initiative introduced by the Oxford City Council as a way of measuring air quality in and around the city. We spoke to Ian Halliday at Oxford City Council to find out more.
So the Oxford Low Emission Zone is standard for exhaust emissions from buses in the city. It comes about from the fact that we have an air quality management area in the city. So levels of nitrogen dioxide are higher than the national objective levels, and in the city centre significant amounts of nitrogen dioxide emissions come from buses. So the low emission zone is an attempt to try and reduce the emission from buses and improve air quality in the city centre.
Labour councillor John Tanner of Oxford City Council said buses would also be banned from keeping their engines running for more than 1 minute at a bus stop.
The low emission zone sets a minimum standard for emissions from buses, and that's a Euro 5 emission.
A year on from when the initiative has started, Martin Sutton, Managing Director of Stagecoach in Oxfordshire, said, "By the end of this year, we will have replaced all Stagecoach buses and coaches in Oxford since 2010 with new ones to either hybrid, Euro 5 or the highest Euro 6 emission standards."
We monitor air quality across the city, and we use a variety of means, but we have a continuous monitoring station on St Aldate's, just outside the building actually, which monitors hourly concentrations, and in 2013 in 2012 we had 55 exceedances of the short-term concentration level. In 2014 we had none, so that's a really significant improvement, and we think that a major factor in that is the low emission zone coming into effect.
David Smith, Council Cabinet Member for the Environment, says, "This is excellent news and a vindication for the scheme. However, this is only the beginning of the journey, and we will see further improvements as vehicles become more efficient and newer technologies are introduced in the coming years." While the regulation has seen improvements in the air quality, there is a long way to go, and the Council will monitor emissions and consider whether extensions of the low air emission zone to other vehicle classes would be considered to help improve the quality in and around the city. One taxi firm, 001, has taken its own initiative and replaced most of its fleet with hybrid Prius cars. This small effort and the expansion of the Thornhill Park and Ride will hopefully go a long way to reduce Oxford's greenhouse gas footprint. This is Latoya Gale reporting for BrookesTV News.
And now, sports news. Students are disappointed as sports administrators at Brookes can't help them start a handball team. Instead, they have to play for Oxford University. Chris Mandevenga reports on this issue.
Oxford University has offered handball to their students for 12 years, but Brookes still doesn't have a team, and therefore handball players from Brookes don't have the opportunity to play for their own university.
Because handball is not a part of BUCS, which means the British University College Sports, so therefore Brookes couldn't fund and give us the money we needed to start with, we could get kits or courts and training times and so on. The reason why we wanted to start a handball team at Brookes was because that it's many Brookes players here, and there was some changes in the rules, so only 4 players could play for the uni championship, so therefore we wanted to start our own team.
Brookes students have tried to start a team this year and even had a stand at the sports fair, but were disappointed when their university wasn't able to help them.
Well, I think it's a shame because there's so many Brookes students at this team and there's a lot of good players, so I think the university would benefit from having their own team and more people would have taken part in sports activities like handball from the Scandinavian countries, etc.
We thought it was a shame because we're very interested, all of the Brookes players, but hopefully handball will be a part of Brookes maybe next year or in the future, so then we will probably start a team.
Aitor Perez thinks Brookes should start their own team as the rules for who gets to play change every year.
Well, I think it's a disgrace. Your university should provide you with the sport facilities. You have a whole, you have the players, you have good potential to establish your own team. Handball is probably becoming a BUCS sport in the near future, and you should actually make use of the resources that you have, and you have very good players.
As both teams are currently ranked second in the South regions in the university championships, and a big part of the joint team are players from Brookes.
I think they would benefit very much because the Brookes students here are very good at playing, so they would benefit in that way that we might win the championships and everything.
The sports administrator at Brookes refused to give a statement at this point. As for now, Brookes students can still play for Oxford University. I'm Chris Mandevenga, reporting for BrookesTV Sport.
And finally, love is in the air. Statistics show an estimated 37 million dates take place for Valentine's Day each year. But where do we Brits feature in the world rankings of romantic spending? Zonta Chauvin reports.
Flowers, card, chocolate and jewelry. What better way to say love is in the air for Valentine? We asked Oxford City civilians how they spend their Valentines and what their thoughts are on it.
I think it's cliche as it sounds. You don't have to be February 14 doesn't have to be a Valentine's Day if you love a person. It can be Valentine's Days every single day.
Well, for 22 years, there's no Valentine's for me. No.
We went for Food and Bray, which is just 2 of us, isn't it? Yeah.
It's just once a year. I think it's worth it, even more money. I think it's worth it.
It's just too commercialized because they make it sound like it has to be February 14th. It's 21st century. If it's men and women equal, then if men buy something for a girl or a woman, the girl should do the same so that, it's kind of like reciprocating each other's feelings. So I think that's fine.
Current statistics show the highest spending countries are Asia, Spain, France, followed by the UK ranking 4th. The average spend on presents and celebration estimate at £119.
Have you ever asked him out on Valentine's Day?
No. No, I haven't.
How do you feel about that?
I'm used to it.
This is Zonta Chauvin for BrookesTV News.
And that's it for this week. Remember, all of our older episodes from previous series are available on the Oxford Brookes YouTube channel.
And if you'd like to get in touch, you can email us on brookestv@brookes.ac.uk.
See you next time.
Goodbye.